there we are. Welcome to the dungeons. Dayman here. And look, I got my muscles back. Whew, I can finally wield this bad boy. That's right. Today we are talking about the greatsword. Or I guess the long sword, huh? By the way, we're up here looking for signal. Because here on Eternity, it truly is a forsaken planet. All technology seems to be running haywire. Just look at this view, though. Alright. Let's jump down and break my legs. And we'll talk about our greatsword. Before we get into our encounter design, I would like to first discuss how this weapon actually works, so that you have the best sense of it before we get into our fights. I'll throw this in the first person so you can see what my pretty eyes see. Alright, first things first, despite this being a very long boy, I'll tell you what, it is not the longest longsword model. How many times can I say long? Now, she sure is a beaut, ain't she? I love that little eye in the center wakes up. Very Soul Calibur. Now, we're not here to talk about cosmetics, we're here to talk about functionality. So, how does this thing function? Much like a regular greatsword, you must use two hands at all times in order to make the most out of your strikes. In order to activate your perks, that is. Speaking of perks, I'm running criticals and stab damage. So this thing at 171, unmodified, is a beast. Now, what you might expect about the greatsword is that when you strike forward, bow! It's going to send those spires in whichever direction you strike. But that's not how it works. Let me tell you. If you expect that, you're going to be disappointed. But if you learn how to use it properly, boy, oh boy, are you going to learn something neat today. With two hands on, a charged attack, I can look to the side, and despite having had struck this blade forward, I sent the spires in the direction I was looking. So I could be focusing on a fight here, see people approaching me, charge, strike, and then attack people in two separate directions. Frankly, very cool, but if you're listening to good old Dayman and you keep your head on a swivel, you might find that can sometimes get in the way of your combos. Speaking of combos, one of the things we're going to try and demonstrate today is to get a knockback into a hard target, and then you can consult. Now those went through the wall there, but against most dungeon walls, these spikes will consolidate into a structure, allowing you for higher single target damage. Mind you, this does not work against pillars, arches, or gates. It must be done against solid walls. Alrighty, so let's talk about our encounter design, shall we? Now, what you're going to see here is me vamping for time as I talk about this. So, swarms are always going to be a decent matchup with most mythical weapons, but even though some people have suggested to me that this is good against swarms, in my experience, it's only good against a swarm's hazard dungeon. With the amount of spacing that these spires have, I do not find them to be very good against swarms. So I will not be launching swarms. You can argue against me in the comments, and then I will cry about it later. Alright. So, we're going to load up the various enemy types here. We have, it can be decent against some critter types, so we'll launch those. Now, we have enemies that are in ranged, melee, and on the ground. All of which are going to be great targets for our great sword. I suppose it's called the long sword, forgive me. Now, so, the next thing we want to talk about is against bosses. This thing will handle most enemy types just fine, but this is the first weapon that is truly good against the Uber Mage, as its ability to bypass its shield, strike down its waves, and deal decent damage and keeping a guard up against its melee attacks is rather good. But that being said, we are also good against the Doomer, but where we start to see our bad matchups. Okay, we're going to start with our honorable mentions. The skeletal boss is a fun fight with the longsword. And I say a fun fight, not a good fight, as to really get the most out of it, you're going to have to keep some modicum of distance. But with the spires are large enough to spike its pretty little face. But it's an honorable mention at that. Doomer is Doomer, as we know. We can body him pretty good. But our bad matchups, so this is where I really have a hard time with the Great Sword. Its length helps with a lot of flyer types, but it really struggles against Bombies and Lost Souls, which depending on your biome, Lava Forge and Underworld, Doomer can be a bit more of a troublesome encounter. So these is where we have some edge cases where you can do well, they're not the best matchups. We are going to struggle against flyer-type enemies, such as the Defiler over here, and the Octoculus. Thank you, JJ, for your correction. You told me that what its name was, and despite me struggling to pronounce it half the time, we know what it really is. It's just a legally distinct beholder, right? Now, pardon me just talking your heads off. Let's get into some encounters, shall we? So, I hate the sound of spiders in this game. So, what I'm going to try and do is get these guys lined up nice and good. What I recommend doing, little dungeon Roomba here, what you want to do is you want to be drawing aggression towards you. I could be fighting here, and while I fight, send a spike that way, deal with the archers. Sorry, I got too busy talking about it. And remember, we're not here to win fights. We're here to discuss tactics. Probably would be doing better if I wasn't boycotting Vitality, but hey, what you gonna do? So, I'm going to launch a few more Skeletal Warriors just to demonstrate some decent practices with single target damage. Another thing we will be doing is launching the Uber Mage because it's worth discussing in full. Okay. Let's lure these guys down here because I got a little trick up my sleeve. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is that you don't want them to strike against your weapon. So once we're here, I can start to, I climbed up it. But if you're against a hard target wall, you can start to consolidate those spires. Now, what you want to be doing to get the most out of your longsword is to draw aggression from multiple enemies. Once they are walking towards you, you're going to find it much easier to start to get those strikes in. And I've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning here. The south-north strike will bypass all of, well, almost all enemy types guard. So he can block me up top. And what's cool here is you just saw that little blue marker. This thing's knockback is far more powerful against enemy types than a standard great longsword. So you can come to a swipe, sweep the leg, as their legs have no protection. That does not work, however, for the skeletal boss. Another reason why it's not the greatest of matchups. Where's that pesky Uber Mage? He's a coward. He hides from Dayman. Yeah. You got to see a little bit of first person. Let's go 33rd for you. Ah! Alright, let's get active. Swarm's coming, swarm's going. This zombie wants to fly. I make dreams come true here on this channel. Even though it's a little bit more tricky, you gotta keep your eye on the prize, and that's your ticker, okay? Which is what I did not do. So one of the disadvantages of that greatsword is that sometimes it can block your health, so it's worth it learning how to kind of keep a guard while checking that HP. Now here's a little bonus tip for you, as if you're an experienced player you might already know this, but you know, lots of people are joining the game. If your hands start to glow red, that is an indicator of how much damage you're taking. So the more red the glow and the more intense it is, the less opaque, or rather the more opaque, the more damage is indicative on your body. So that's a way of keeping track of your health if you aren't looking at your wrist. Wow, that was embarrassing, wasn't it? Do I do it again just to prove myself? Maybe, maybe not. Let's have fun though. I do find that once an enemy's up in the air, it's very difficult to do much else to them. Alright, you uberly duberly. I can shoot those too. Remember, your sword has to touch the floor, but something I'm curious about is if I can hit another hard target. So yes, you can hit additional hard targets such as a wall if the floor is, I don't know why the whole floor would be hard to hit, but if it is, my bones is starting to stink. Pardon the little bath here. Drawing aggression, drawing them in, working at range, getting in once you're staggered. Oh. And as we know, Uber Mage is a booty tickling bastard and he will get behind you. Oh, how can I resist something like that? A great way of keeping a fight at your pace with this greatsword. I love it. I'm gonna have to stand still to gain health, and that's not gonna work. I told you he's a booty tickling bastard. Alright. I know some of you come here to watch me die, but I ain't gonna entertain you too long with that, am I? So we did talk about our best encounters, and why they're good encounters, even if Dayman ain't too good at that dang old greatsword. It's been a while since I played with her. Mwah, so strong, though. And a lot of fun. I will make a quick note here. I'm not a big fan of the knockback distance on the greatsword because I like to keep enemies in a close enough distance to pursue a strike with them. But if you enjoy the playstyle of it, who am I to say nay? Remember, like, comment, subscribe so I can gain my beautiful goblin face back. Until next time, disinfect your bones and wash that face mask carefully. Peace.